Ah. Hello, friends, and welcome back to the Popcast. Whenever you are listening to this, whether it be live or a VOD, Twitch or YouTube, while you're running Quad Carbon Roller and Top Cut in Testing Grounds 1, registering for the Turf Be Told Turf War tourney this Friday, getting yourself reported to the Splatoon Safety Code of Conduct for trying to smurf into low ink, whatever it is that you're doing right now, I appreciate you taking the time out of your day to listen to this. Unless I don't. I got a big, long episode today. Normally, when I type out notes for this stuff, it's only a couple of pages. When I do the low ink preview one, it's usually a little bit longer, and I'm also got a tourney to recap in front of this. So I have a 5-page gargle mess of information to dispute with you guys today. Microsoft Word said this was about 3,600 words. That is more than anything I ever did in college. But to be fair, my major was sport management, which is kind of extremely easy to major for anybody to get, so I wouldn't read too much into that. Also, this didn't take me that long. For this long of a thing to type out, it didn't take me that long to do all this stuff. This is my 9th episode of the Popcast, so I'm starting to get into a rhythm of how I need to type up notes for this kind of thing. So don't think I spend my entire week typing up stuff for this, because I don't. I only spend half the week. Today, I will be recapping Little Squid League 6 and then previewing an exciting upcoming low ink tourney this weekend. I'm going to be giving you guys a list of teams that I am interested in, teams who I think will move up in the bracket based off of what bracket they made last month, my top 10 teams who can win the tourney, and post the registration link over and over and over again, because you morons like to wait to the last minute to register your team, which takes a lot of stress, which adds a lot of stress to the low ink staff. Right now we have about 40 teams registered, which means about another 70 are going to register this week, which means since we verify each individual player, that means what? If in each team averages about 5 to 6 players, it's about 400 players we got to verify this week alone, because you guys take so long to register. Register your team now. If you're playing in low ink and you haven't registered yet, click on that link and go register your team right now, please. Please and thank you. Now, before we get to low ink, we got to recap Little Squid League 6. And let's get this part out of the way right off the bat. Yes, I am aware that some teams were upset that they got banned from this tourney due to having good results in other tourneys. I'm not going to go on a 30-minute rant about it, but I will comment on it briefly. If you're not aware, Little Squid League is a tourney for Div 5 and under. But Ludi divisions haven't really been updated since last season, which I think Divs came out in April. So it's been about 5 or 6 months now since Ludi divs have been updated. So Little Squid League probably took that into account and said, you know what? Technically, teams like Xanadu, Saxophone Ducks, Squid Vibe, Pure Divinity. Could you imagine Pure Divinity playing in Little Squid League? They would win. They would KO every single game without a second thought. So Little Squid League kind of looked at this and said, "Okay, Ludi's not gonna update things, so we're gonna do it ourselves." So they created a list of teams that they banned, and rightfully so. Now, uh, some teams that got banned weren't happy about it. Not surprising. Oh, hello. Hi, honey. And Addison, should you be playing Salmon Run with my wife right now instead of listening to me? Some teams got banned that weren't happy about it. That's not a surprise. It happens in low ink every single month. Either a team gets banned or some player gets banned. Either way, this is a constant issue Low Ink has to deal with is people complaining about getting banned. The difference is Low Ink handles all that stuff privately, and if anybody just goes off in the public servers, the moderators just kind of shut that down and just like, hey, take this to Twitter or DMs or somewhere else. We're not going to deal with this kind of crap elsewhere. Let, let me just say this. Your goal as a team that competes in these lower level skill capped tourneys, is to get banned from them. So if you got banned from Little Squid League, that's good. you won. That it should be your goal, is to say I am now officially too good to play in this tournament. It's a rite of passage. It's a graduation. Congratulations. So every team that's on that ban list, you should be patting yourselves on the back. Congratulations. Now, is it fair that some teams got banned and some of the teams that did play in the tournament that could have been banned didn't get banned? Yes and no. I guess it's fair to have a debate about that, but I'm not going to feed into that right now because that is just a distraction from what the real story is here. The real story is not who was banned, but who benefited from the ban. And the answer to that is these teams I don't normally get to talk about on the Popcast because they usually finish around 2-4 or 3-3 in low ink and don't make gamma bracket. Little Squid League is now a tourney for those teams that are not yet ready to be consistent to qualify for low ink Sunday's bracket. And that is a wonderful thing. As I choke on my snot, that is a wonderful thing for this lower level community. So many teams played great on Saturday in Little Squid League, and I will get to that in a minute. But the main reason they were able to shine and feel good about themselves is that they finally have a tourney that caters to their skill level, which is what Little Squid League is rebranding itself as, and something we've really needed. The teams that got banned, I don't feel sorry for them. I don't. There are still so many great tourneys for them to play in. Ash Cup was 2 weekends ago on a Saturday at 1 o'clock. That was the same exact time slot as what the Little Squid League was last Saturday. Where were these teams then? These teams that are complaining about getting banned from Little Squid League, why weren't you in Ash Cup? You weren't going to be banned from that. But I digress. I'm not going to be distracted by the loud minority, and we're going to focus on the tourney itself. So with that, let's take a look at Swiss. That was my fastest rant ever. Swiss stage. Matches of note. I got 2 for you. Bread Gang 2-1 over Apocalyptic Inc. This was kind of billed as a play-in game in round 5, meaning whoever won this was going to go on and make it into Top Cut. Apocalyptic Inc. was number 8. Bread Gang was number 9. Top 8 advanced on. Bread Gang won this one 2-1. And even though they won it, they didn't jump up into the top 8. Some other team with a better opponent win percentage jumped ahead of them and made it in. I think it was Omega Rush that leaped over them. Regardless of the outcome, the stakes were still there. And it was obvious why this was a good game to put on stream, obviously. And it was a very exciting match. Apocalyptic Inc. had already lost 2-0, so they won the third game. I wonder if them winning that third game kept Bread Gang out. If Bread Gang had 3-0'd, if that would have affected a tiebreaker of some sort. I don't. I say opponent win percentage a lot. I don't claim to totally know the formula behind that. If it factors in if like you win all three of your games, or if you win 2-1, or even if that matters. Um, but regardless of the outcome of how it meant for the grand scheme of the tournament, 2-1 Bread Gang over Apocalyptic Inc. was a great match to watch. The other match of note, Nazareth College Esports 2-1 over Ink Craft Cult. Now, this was round 4, and by this point, both of these teams had been eliminated from top cut contention. So there wasn't really anything on in stake here. It was still a really close game, a really close match, with the highlight being the game 2 Splat Zones Wahoo, in which the lead is flipped back and forth between both teams. Another reason why I kind of mentioned this match is because I want to talk about Nazareth College Esports, because they interest me. We don't. So there's this new thing that I don't really know a whole heck of a lot about, called the CCA, the College Cephalopod Association. And I did some digging around in the Purdue Splatoon server yesterday to kind of find out if this Nazareth team came from that, and it turns out that they did. So that's interesting that we have these new set of college teams that are starting to branch out outside of that and come into the other tournaments like Little Squid League. So I wonder if we'll see some more colleges come from that, if we'll see these guys start branching out into things like Low Ink or Ash Cup. Nazareth College, I believe, went 2-3 on the day, so not too shabby. It looked like they were kind of new to the competitive scene, but who knows? They could grow to be the next ITAP. I don't know where Nazareth College is. None of you do either. So I Googled it just out of interest. Is a private school in Rochester, New York. I have no idea how they found us, us being the competitive scene, but I'm glad they did. And hopefully we can see some more of these guys. If Magic 8 Ball is listening or is at any point, and you have any interest, Magic, in coming on and talking to me about the CCA, I would be really interested in that, because I personally need to learn more about this, especially if these college teams are going to start creeping into these lower level tourneys. So, Magic, please, if that's something you're interested in, reach out to me. I'd love to have you on, and to talk about other things as well. My winners from Swiss. Got 3. Clownfish. Notable wins against No Diving and Bread Gang, going 3-2 on the day. This is an established veteran Low Ink team that I don't really get to talk about too much, because they usually don't do too many crazy things that kind of get my attention. They were the number 1 seed in Gamma last month. But as you'll find out when I start talking about Low Ink, your seeding in the Sunday brackets means diddly poo. But I finally found an opportunity to kind of talk about Clownfish. So definitely a winner from the group stage, made top cut. So wanted to give them a shout out. Omega Rush finished 3-2. Notable wins against Bread Gang and Surf and Turf. Not bad. This is a team that finished 3-3 in the last Low Ink. Did not make Gamma bracket, but they did make top cut in this tournament. So a nice result for Omega Rush. My biggest winner, though, of the entire tournament is going to No Diving. This team finished 4-1, with their only loss coming to Clownfish 1-2, which was a connection-plagued set that was on stream. They beat Omega Rush and Villain Academy. More impressively, they beat them 2-1, which means they faced 2 teams in a close 1-1 set and found a way to get that extra win twice against quality opponents. Easily the best result of No Diving's career. or no deving, as I like to call them, because they had Dev hop in as the sub for them. Regardless, very good finish for no diving. I'll be talking about them again later when we discuss low ink. Or in zero diving, I guess, is how you pronounce that. In zero dot diving. Top cut. Matches of note. Well, not many. um, round one was boring. Every match was literally 3-0. So we're just going to skip over that. Round two, almost equally as boring, at least from my perspective. Every match was 3-1. I tap 3-1 over Tooniverse. Hardcore Noobs 3-1 over Labyrinth X. I guess I could talk about the Hardcore Noobs over Labyrinth X because that is a rematch from Swiss that was closer. It went in the favor of the Noobs 2-1. So the Hardcore Noobs able to get another close win against Labyrinth X there. The real match of note here in Top Cut, and the most competitive one of the entire Top Cut, was the third place match, in which Labyrinth X beat Tooniverse 3-2. Now, I live with my wife, obviously, and she's the captain of Tooniverse. I didn't ask her about this set. Whenever I lose a close set, the last thing I want is someone to ask me about it, so I didn't. So I don't have too many details about this, but it doesn't matter. You can look at the score and know in a best of 5, if it came down to 3-2, it was a pretty intense set. So nice to see that there. My winners from Top Cut are Labyrinth X and Tooniverse. Both of these teams made beta bracket last month and probably finished right around where they should here at 3rd and 4th, respectively. The only team that beat them were the top 2 teams. Hardcore Noobs beat Labyrinth X twice. Inkling Technology at Purdue beat Tooniverse twice. So there you go. That makes sense that these 2 teams would finish 3rd and 4th over the teams that finished 1st and 2nd. Now, Grand Finals. ITAP versus Hardcore Noobs. This is a rematch of a round 5 matchup where both teams came in undefeated. And ITAP won this one 3-0. I went back and watched this set. It was kind of close. Game 1 should have gone to the Noobs. Game 2 could have gone to the Noobs. Game 3 was just a quick Rainmaker KO by ITAP. I'm not going to try to justify that one for Hardcore Noobs. But this set could have easily gone 2-1 in the favor of the Hardcore Noobs. Now, if you pay attention to the Popcast, and I know you do, you have heard me talk about Grand Finals, especially in the brackets and low ink, where one team comes in as the confident favorite and another comes in as a hungry underdog. And both teams have already met in a close match earlier in the same tourney, on the same day in the same tourney, no less. Then the results of this Grand Finals, before I tell it to you guys, really should not come to a surprise to anyone. And especially shouldn't come to a surprise to ITAP either, considering they literally were the Hardcore Noobs a month ago. On paper, this was ITAP's turning to win, just like it was Access Denied's Gamma Bracket to win last month. But the paper doesn't factor in the emotional and mental pressure that is always present in a Grand Finals. And all that pressure is going to be always on the favorites. ITAP fell for the trap of not accounting for that pressure that they were going to experience that the Hardcore Noobs weren't, as the team that was supposed to lose. So keep that in mind. hardcore noobs had no pressure on them because they weren't supposed to win. They already lost 3-0. So they have nothing to lose. They can come in and play as loose and free as they possibly can be. Whereas ITAP is coming in as confident. We've already beat these guys 3-0. We're not going to overlook them, but we know that we can beat these guys. But here's what happened. Game 1, they got punched in the mouth. They had the seed of doubt planted within them, and then hardcore noobs let that seed grow over the next couple of games and took the whole tourney 4-1. Again, this is the same story we've seen in Gamma Bracket, Beta, Alpha in the past 3 lowings. This is not a surprise. The losing team in a rematch is always coming in stronger in these grand final rematches. Counter picks were a thing in this grand final. It is a thing to note. Again, I'd love to see counter picks in lower level tourneys. But as I have mentioned in the past, if you don't really know what you're doing here, it can really work against you. We keep seeing teams counter pick maps that they feel good on without taking into account how the other team might do on said maps. Might do on the said map. The best example we've seen so far is Xanadu versus Splatforce in the last Ash Cup. The counter picks both teams used highlighted their own strengths, but more importantly, at the same time, exposed the weaknesses of their opponents. I don't really think we saw a lot of that here, and it definitely was a factor. In my opinion, if the maps were preset like we usually see in low ink, this finals might have been a little bit more competitive. But I like seeing the counter picks. I hope they stay. I think the more we do counter picks in the lower level community, I think we'll start seeing more and more smarter counter picks instead of teams just being like, well, we usually win on this map, so let's just pick that. And then you don't really think, oh, wait a minute, this map might be really good for our opponent as well. But counter picks always make things more interesting, and I love it. Overall, the story here is not that ITAP lost. It's that the hardcore noobs pulled off a great win, bouncing back from a 0-3 Swiss result to win Little Squid League 6. Now, hardcore noobs are a team that has been around for a while. They used to be regulars in low ink, but I don't think they were fans of the switch to the 2-day system. So ever since then, we haven't really seen them in low ink. But it was great to see them again in this tourney, and hopefully we can see more of them down the road. If not in low ink, then possibly in Ash Cup or a return to the Xanadu tournament series, which they have played in recently. I don't think the last one, but the one before that. Because they're a fun team to watch. They really are. For ITAP, this loss is going to do more for them than a win would have. They will be thankful 2 or 3 months down the road. I mean, they're probably not happy that they lost today, but 2 or 3 months down the road, they're going to look back at this and say, yeah, I'm glad we lost that because we learned so much. There's a lot of good VOD, a lot of good VODs out there for them to watch and look back on this one. And I wouldn't be surprised if they bounce back from this and start towards the end of the year, become a regular for Alpha Cut in low ink. This will make them better. It'll put a chip on their shoulder, and it will keep them motivated to keep growing. And that's all I got to say about Little Squid League. So let's take some water here. A lot of Tooniverse fans in the house tonight. It's good. I'm a fan as well. By the way, I'm just going to keep blasting this. Again, if you're playing in low ink, click on that. Register your team. Thank you, Tofu. Yes. It's very... That's nice. That's very nice. Low ink. Um, Once again, as I kind of mentioned last month when I did my low ink preview, um, it's it's difficult to kind of do this on a Monday before the tournament, considering hell about 80% of the teams are going to be signing up this week after I give my preview. So a lot of this is just me kind of assuming some of these teams are going to sign up ahead of time. If I talk about a team that doesn't actually sign up, then on Monday I'll come back and make an amendment or a redaction, I guess is what they're called in newspapers. Teams I definitely won't be talking about, though. I got two of them. Number one are the Bunnies. This is a team that has only existed for low ink in June and July. Has played pretty well in Alpha Bracket, but didn't play much, or didn't play last month. So if they were to show up again, then they'll likely make Alpha again. But I can't add anything new to to what I would say about them versus what I've already said about them last month because they didn't show up. So, and we don't really see them in any other tourneys but low ink, so I don't really know who these guys are. So I'm not going to mention them at any point in my list or anything like that. The other team is Hardcore Noobs. It'd be cool if they signed up for this tournament. But I think they've made it kind of clear that they weren't the biggest fans of the switch to the 2-day system. And we haven't seen them since, so I'm not really expecting them to sign up. It'd be interesting to see, coming off of this Little Squid League win, how they fare against some other teams around their skill level, but I don't think we'll get to see that on this tournament. Um, those were the only two notable teams that I wanted to get out that I'm not going to talk about today. Now, I won't mention every team in existence. But this section is for teams that are contenders that I won't go in depth about. Had more teams. I had more teams to talk about that I wasn't going to talk about last month, if that makes sense. But this time around, I expect more teams to play because of the prize pool. Some German tournament this weekend. That makes sense. I know they are EU, but that's kind of broad. I don't know what part of EU they were in. Okay, cool. So a German tournament. I will not be recapping the German tournament on Monday. It is not hoodie weather just yet, but I wanted to bust one out anyways. Teams that interest me. Ravenous Raccoons. I haven't gotten to see these guys since they didn't play on the Sunday portion of Low Ink last month. But their Saturday results were pretty good. They went 5-1, including a win over Last Chance, who finished second. I other than that, I don't really know much about the Raccoons. I feel like I could put them in my top 10 somewhere of teams that could win, but I don't think it's fair to put them in over the other teams I have in my top 10 based off the fact that I haven't seen them play outside of what they did on Saturday last Low Ink. Takedown interests me. This is one of those teams that I had in my top 10 last month. They didn't play because they didn't have enough players, so they combined with Avalanche to make one kind of giant super team. But Takedown is just one of those teams that constantly needs or / uses a sub. So it's always hard to gauge how good they actually are as a team. I mean, some tourneys they don't do so well. Some tourneys they do really well. The most recent example is how they played in Ash Cup 5 a couple of weekends ago, finishing in second behind Xanadu. But even then, one of the main reasons they got that far was because of their sub Jack from Avalanche. So I honestly don't think we've seen the actual full Takedown roster play consistently at any point. So I don't really know what their expectations are or where they kind of hope to be with their actual roster. So they're definitely a team that interests me. but I don't think they're. I don't think it's fair to put them in the top 10 again, at least for this month. Splat Force. They interest me because I don't even know if they're going to sign up or not. I hope they do though. They had a good showing in Ash Cup 5 and did initially sign up for Lowink last month, but had a few subs. I think one of them got rejected by Lowink. But I know Todd didn't play because he was either moving or something like that. So I'm not sure if they'll try to sign up again, but if they do, they would easily be a contender for Alpha Bracket. We liked seeing Low Ink in Ash Cup, or like seeing Splat Force in Ash Cup, and they did really well. So it'd be nice to see them play against even more teams like they played against in Ash Cup. Labyrinth X, obviously coming off a third place Little Squid League finish. Um, I think some people forget they were also the number one seed in beta. Now they moved there. I guess they originally started out as the number three because two teams dropped from alpha, and so that bumped some people up. But I don't think people remember that if one more team had dropped, Labyrinth X would have been an alpha bracket team. So it'll be interesting to see what they do if they'll kind of repeat that. I mean, they're gonna have to beat a team like Hardcore Noob or ITAP to, and then teams that are even better than them to get up to the alpha bracket. But they were right there last month, so we'll see what they kind of do here. Geek Squids interest me because they went 5-1 last month. Can they repeat that? Will they get put into a tougher group this time around? And if they do, will they get that 5-1 or 4-2? I think it's going to be difficult for Geek Squids to stay in alpha bracket, but if they play as well as they did last Saturday, I guess I don't really see why they shouldn't. Splatter Swim, same thing. Can they repeat? I think Splatter Swim is more likely to repeat as an alpha bracket team, just because they were in a lot more closer. Excuse me. They played in a lot more closer Saturday Swiss games. A lot of 2-1 games that they found ways to win that propelled them into top cut. So I feel like they're a little bit more battle tested, and obviously they've beaten Geek Squids twice now in a row. Um, so it'll be interesting to see who Splatter Swim gets matched up against in Swiss, and if they can find ways to get enough wins to stay in alpha bracket, which is where they should be. The last team I had here was Vinto Gaming, but I think I saw they dropped. I'll talk about them anyways, just in case. They made alpha last month, and I haven't gotten to see these guys much, so I can't really justify putting them in the top 10. But they have been playing in some of the IPL tourneys as of late, so maybe we'll see some more of them in swim or sink this week, if not in low ink. It's not hoodie season, but it is definitely allergy season. All right. So last month, this is where I just jumped into the top 10, and I was like, I need to give more attention to the gamma and beta brackets. And then I thought, like, well, how would I do that? Because if I were to come out and say, I think ITAP is going to win gamma bracket, that's also kind of a diss. Because at the same time, they'd be like, well, so what, you're saying we're not going to make beta bracket? So I want to avoid being negative as possible. Again, sometimes I have to be to give credit to another team. So I found a good compromise. What I'm going to do is give you my top three teams who are going to climb the bracket ladder, or that I think can climb the bracket ladder this tournament. So first off, my top three teams who I predict will make Gamma who didn't last month. Number one is an easy one, Bread Gang. Why didn't these guys make Gamma last month? Oh, they had to play 3v4 most of the most of the day Saturday. I forget why. I think it was either connection issues or somebody had to go, or something, and they couldn't get a sub. So, Bread Gang, if they actually play all 6 games with 4 people, they'll definitely make Gamma Bracket. Number 2 is No Diving. Hey, if they play like they did in Little Squid League, there's no reason to believe they won't make their first Gamma Bracket. I'm not sure if Dev will be playing with them. I did talk to Dev a little bit today, and she is on a newish team called Oblivion. So I don't know if Dev is going to be available to play with No Diving or not. That would be Dev is not the main reason why No Diving did so well, but Dev is definitely a key factor. But regardless of if Dev plays or not, I think No Diving just tasting the experience they did in Low Wink of making, or in Little Squid League and making Top Cut, can pay off for them down the road. My third team, who I think is going to make Gamma, who didn't last month, Omega Rush. Same thing as No Diving. The fact that they fell, and they did fall just short of making Gamma last month. They did go 3-3. I think they were just a few spots away from qualifying for the 16 seed or something like that. So Omega Rush, I think if some better opponent win percentage works out for them this time around, they'll find a way into Gamma. My dark horse team to make Gamma Bracket. Give me Moon Pop. Just by looking at their roster, I'm surprised they went 2-4 last month. I would be really surprised if they did that again. It's a pretty solid team. I feel like they'll find a way to qualify for Sunday. So I'll give them my dark horse role for that. Moving on, my top 3 teams from Gamma to move on to Beta. Number 1's an obvious pick. How about the team that actually won Gamma last month? Inkling Technology at Purdue. Possible alpha cut at some point? Question mark? Who knows? It depends on how this week goes for them, what they kind of take away from the Little Squid League tournament, and what new wrinkles they can add. Number 2, obviously you got to mention the team that finished second and just a few games away from beating ITAP would be Access Denied. An issue with this, I haven't really seen these guys play since the last Low Ink. So I don't really know. We haven't really seen them in Ash Cup or what they've been up to. Maybe there's some sort of German league they played in that I didn't see. So, but other than that, not quite sure. Number 3, I'd have to give it to Krill Streak. Same as Access Denied. We haven't really seen them in action this month. But they're a team that's been right around. They've been hanging around with Access Denied and ITAP. In fact, they took ITAP to a game 5 in the winners bracket last month. So I feel like you can't mention Access Denied and ITAP without throwing Krill Streak in there as well. And Krill Streak's been, actually, I think all 3 of these teams have been in beta bracket before. So it wouldn't surprise me if those 3 went back up. My dark horse team, I'm going to give it to Clownfish. Not just because they did well in Little Squid League, but they also were the number 1 seed in Gamma last month. So once again, better opponent win percentage. Maybe they can find their way to sneak up into the beta. All right. My top 3 beta bracket teams who will move on to Alpha. Number 1, C Boys. They won beta bracket, so obviously this is kind of a simple pick. But it's not just that. They have made Alpha bracket before. Back when they were Mu Kuna. They didn't do too hot. They lost in round 1 of winners. They did beat Persistence and losers before getting eliminated in round 2 of losers. But C Boys, a team that's constantly improving, hopefully can find their way back into the Alpha bracket. Number 2, I'm going to take Red Sun here. These guys are a newerish team that made their first appearance in Low Ink last month, made up of former Technical Machine players and a few other free agents they've found along the way. And this team actually came within a few spots of making Alpha last month. If just a few more teams had dropped or something, they would have found their way in there to begin with. Number 3 is got to be Symphony. I had them in my top 10 last month, but obviously they fell down to the beta bracket. And they should be a consistent alpha bracket team. Just the opponent win percentage didn't work out in their favor, which is going to happen in a tournament like Low Inc. If you want to qualify for alpha bracket, you have to win 5 games. You just have to win 5 games. If you go 4-2, you've lost all control of your own fate. You have to hope the opponent win percentage works out in your favor. So if Symphony can find a way to get that 5th win, they'll be cookies and juice. But if they go 4-2 again, it just kind of depends on everything else. You could literally go 4-2 and end up in alpha or gamma. So that opponent win percentage is deadly. My dark horse team to advance from beta to alpha, give me Eurobeats. And these guys are regulars in beta, but they've been on fire lately. It wouldn't surprise me if they cracked the top 16 on Saturday. How well they played in Ash Cup was very surprising. Beating Persistence, falling short of one game of beating Takedown with Jack from Avalanche. I forget who they beat in the 3rd place match, but they did win 3rd place. So it'd be exciting to see some more of Eurobeats here. And if we can keep seeing that same kind of complete team effort that we saw of them in Ash Cup. Salem, are you just chanting every single team that you know? If I just announce a team that you know, you're just going to start chanting their name. That's awesome. Eurobeats. All right. I'm cruising right along here. This is awesome. I might actually make my 1 hour kind of time limit that I set for myself. All right, last part. You're scrimming Eurobeats later tonight. I was kind of hoping to see Eurobeats in the little Squid League. I know they got banned. Probably because of what they did in Ash Cup. But it would have been interesting to see you guys play each other. Now, how well you do in a scrim versus a tournament is not congruent at all. But ITAP versus Eurobeats in a tournament setting would be something I'd be very interested in seeing. So maybe you guys will play Saturday. Who knows? All right. As I readjust here. My top 10 teams who I think can win Low Inc. These are not my top 10 teams in the entire tournament. I'm just saying these are the only 10 teams that are going to win Low Inc. Of the 10 teams I'm going to mention, none of them are going to win Low Inc. except for these 10. Nobody outside of this top 10 will win Low Inc. If I'm wrong about that, that'll be the first thing I say on Sunday or on Monday when I do my next Popcast. And I actually did my top 10 in order this time. Last time I did like number 1 at the top of the page, number 10 at the bottom. But I go from 10 to 1, so I'd read my notes backwards. I got it right this time. Number 10. I keep forgetting that Revitalized played in Low Inc. last month. They only played on Saturday, which was something they announced ahead of time, and did really well, going 5-1 with a 69.4 opponent win percentage. Notable wins coming against Ink Pressure and Persistence. Nobody has qualified for more top cuts in Low Inc. history than Revitalize, so they will always have a spot on my top 10 list of teams who can win this tourney. And I feel like they're the perfect cutoff point for this time around. If they won this tourney, it wouldn't surprise me, which is the whole point of this list. And if anyone below them won, it would surprise me. So hopefully they can play both days this time around, and I can justify placing them higher on this list next month, which is honestly where I feel like they should be. But because they are a team that can do a lot of damage on Sunday, unlike a few teams I'm about to mention, but they actually have to show up on Sunday. Salem, how come no Revitalize in chat? Are you not fans of Revitalize? Wow. Number 9. It was really good to see Nova return to Low Ink in August after not seeing them for a few months. And honestly, I forgot about them. And they did not disappoint, making it to losers round 3 after knocking off the number 1 seed Squid Knights. This is a solid Div 4 team who technically didn't qualify for Alpha Bracket last month. And of course, I say Div 4 like that still means something. If you still actually believe in current Ludi divs, then yes, Nova is Div 4. But they did make playoffs in that, and they did lose to the eventual Div winner in Vision. But like I said, they didn't technically qualify. They only got in because Revitalize and Ravenous Raccoons dropped on Sunday. But they do have plenty of low ink experience. They did get some wins in Alpha. And the team that won last month, Luau, didn't make Alpha the month prior. In fact, they finished second in Beta the month prior. So I wouldn't be surprised if Nova won it just off of the fact that they are an experienced low ink team alone. Number 8. Did you know that Squid Knights are 12-0 on Saturdays in the last 2 low inks, beating notable teams like Last Chance, Ink Pressure, Outcast Ninjas, and Geek Squid? However, the Squid Knights might be the best team in low ink on Saturday. They are far from it on Sundays, for whatever reason. Maybe better seeding in the RNG will help them out. But also maybe losing a match in Swish might help them out, because they need to stop being the number 1 seed. Honestly, every time they've been the number 1 seed, they have failed to win a game in the winner's bracket. But that's not just them. There is an obvious curse with being the number 1 seed in Alpha Bracket. No number 1 seed since we switched to a top 16 cut has made it past winter quarterfinals. It'd be weird to say that this is going to be the first time that doesn't happen as well, since it's a consistent trend we're seeing. Again, how well you do on Saturday never translates to how well you actually do on Sunday. So Squid Knights, do yourselves a favor. Throw a game at some point. Go 5-1. Just get it, fall in that like 5 or 6 seed range, and you guys are going to be fine. Because they've proven that they can beat anybody in this tournament, beating Last Chance, who finished second in Swiss. They just need to finally go out and do it on a Sunday. Number 7. When I recapped last month's low ink, I hinted that Port Raccoon might have had the highest opponent win percentage in low ink history at 80.5%, but I didn't have enough time to actually look that up. It turns out it only took me about 3 minutes to find that information, but I was correct. Nobody has had an opponent win percentage higher than 80%, and it's not even close. I looked back as far as January of this year. The reason I did that is because January is the first time that the rounds in Swiss switched from 5 to 6. So I felt like keeping just looking at tournaments in the 6-round parameter was the only fair way to kind of do it. But I even looked at the December one, which still had 5 rounds, and nobody was even close then either. Now, you may have noticed a trend from other teams around this section of my top 10 by now. How well you do on that Saturday never translates to how you do on Sunday. But even though Port Raccoon went 5-1 in Swiss last month to Squid Knights 6-0, I feel like their record was more impressive given the caliber of opponent they had to face. They can beat anybody in this tourney, but until they prove they can do it on Sunday, just like the Squid Knights, I can't justify having them higher than 7. I'm not going to make it through this list. Tune in tomorrow when I get my voice back, where I give you the rest of the top 10. Number 6. I don't really know what to make of Persistence. One week they're beating the West Broadway Grillers twice in the unnamed tourney, while finishing second in Top Cut. The next week they're getting upset by Eurobeats and Ash Cup. Then the next week they were falling just one spot short of making Top Cut in Testing Grounds 1. Top 8 went on, they finished number 9. So, beating Vento Gaming and a couple of strong pickup teams. I think that type of inconsistency is a result of their massive roster and not always bringing their starters, which makes it predicting a team like Persistence extremely difficult. The problem, as far as Low Ink is concerned, is that since they finished second in June, we haven't really seen much of them. We haven't really seen much out of them. They seem to have been bitten by the Alpha Bracket Round 1 curse as of late. But that could be easily reversed by some better RNG in the seeding this time around. Last month, they played Xanadu in the first round of the Alpha Bracket. Now, if you want to win Low Ink, you have to beat Xanadu at some point. You have to. But playing them in round 1 and spending the rest of your Sunday playing from behind in the loser's bracket can be extremely difficult and stressful for any team. If they can luck out and play an opponent that is much more of a favorable matchup for them in the first round of winners this tournament, then that might help them mentally get over the hump and have a deeper run on Sunday. Stormy, I honestly didn't know you were watching or listening. I don't really check that kind of thing, but I'm glad you agree. Number 5. Last month, Avalanche combined with Takedown, a team I mentioned in my teams that interest me section, and finished 8-2 overall. Only losses to Luau and Ink Pressure. And too many great wins to list them all, honestly. So it should be an obvious pick for the number 1 spot on this list, right? And not number 5? Well, here's my issue. They will need subs. Members of their actual roster are still banned due to past tourney experience. And as of now, Takedown is still in this tournament, so they lost that pool of players that they can combine with. So it's impossible to gauge at this point what kind of roster they would bring to Low Ink. And if it's even fair to call this team Avalanche anymore, depending on how many subs they use, and if it's just more of a Avalanche pickup team. For that reason, being dead smack in the middle here at number 5 seems fair to me. Again, this is a team that has shown they have the capability of winning this whole tournament, because they almost did 2 months ago. But I don't think we're going to see the same 4 players that we saw 2 months ago. I don't even know if we're going to see Avalanche at all, to be honest with you. But if they win, they'll be the first team I owe an apology to, for sure. Number 4. Ink Pressure is a new and welcomed addition to Low Ink. A new team made up of 4 former Low Ink veterans, most notably from Leviathan Warriors. It makes a lot of sense to put them here at number 4. Last month, they beat the team I just put at number 5 in Avalanche/Takedown, and they finished 4th overall in Alpha. But I'm more interested in what they've been doing since the last Low Ink. They've been very active in the new IPL tourneys. They beat Persistence in Swim or Sink number 2, and then they lost to Destiny Troops right after that. It finished a respectable 3-2 in testing ground 1, only losses coming to Arctic Moon and Micklin Heroes, two teams that are well above the low ink skill cap. You gotta love teams that are active in winks that low ink isn't playing, as that just gives them more experience and synergy, especially for a newer team like this that needs to get some more synergy. Also, if I may pat myself on the back, last month the team I had listed at number 4 won low ink, so no pressure, ink pressure. But I would assume their expectation is to win this one as well, so it doesn't matter. 3 more teams. We're going to make it through this. I need to get some, straight honey or something next week and just inject it into my veins. I can feel my voice slipping away. Number 3. Didn't get to see much of Team Horizon outside of their 3rd place finish in last month's low ink. But they did play in the unnamed tournament. And we got some good results from them. Wins against Red Sun, Fresh Constellas, and 2 wins against the West Broadway Grillers, and a 2nd place finish after groups. Now, they did get knocked out of losers semis by Persistence, but their overall performance in that tourney, combined with how well they played in last month's low ink, has to put them pretty high on this list. They looked like a clone version of Last Chance that finished in 2nd. So it wouldn't surprise me if we saw even better results out of Team Horizon in this upcoming tournament. Number 2, I had Xanadu marked down as the team to win August. I had them as my number 1 team. And while they put up a good fight, they did get eliminated in losers round 4. However, the only teams to beat them on Sunday are Team Horizon and the team I have yet to mention that is in my number 1 spot. But why stay at number 2 and not lower if they finished, I guess they finished in the top 5 if they got eliminated in round 4? Well, the main reason is they're coming off an Ash Cup 5 championship where they went 19-2, an absolutely dominant performance. And even though they had a sub in that tourney, their original roster is going to be even better. Are they going to have their entire consistent yet small roster for both days is the question, though, because that's really difficult to do in a 2-day tourney, is to have the same 5 guys available for both days. If not, they're going to need another sub that fits the missing hole as perfectly as Pez did for them in Ash Cup. Also, keep in mind, winning Ash Cup gives them a huge advantage over every other team in this tourney, because having a gold medal from a major lower level tourney in your trophy case gives you experience and confidence down the stretch on Sunday, where we normally see nerves start to take a hold of teams and start to weed out some of the more inexperienced teams. Combine that experience with the raw talent that Xanadu already has, and you can kind of see why I got to keep them in my top 2 here until somebody more consistent or miraculous comes around and knocks them off. Now, my number 1 team, and who I am predicting to win low ink, but not as confidently as I was last month. No team on this list beat the team named Last Chance on Sunday. Ryzen, Nova, Xanadu, all falling to Last Chance in winner's bracket by a combined score of 9-2. They are also the only team to beat the eventual winner Luau in winners finals. They did go 4-2 on Saturday, So it is the opponent win percentage luck that they even made alpha bracket. Um, but as I've been saying a lot today, how well you do on Saturday never translates to how well you do on Sunday. It goes both ways. All you have to do is qualify for alpha bracket. It don't matter if you're the 1 seed or the 16 seed. Just qualify and you're going to be fine. Now, I will admit that I don't feel as confident about this pick as my number 1 team. I feel like the fact that they beat Xanadu the way they did last tournament, I can't justify putting Xanadu ahead of them this time around, and I can't really justify putting other teams ahead of Xanadu. So by default, last chance, the team that finished second in the last tournament needs to be at this number 1 spot. I feel like they're the safest pick, honestly. Now, once again, considering they gave every other team on this list fits last month, in that they won the silver medal, it wouldn't surprise me if they were the team to win this one. I think this low ink is a lot more wide open than the last month's low ink. But again, I'm sticking to it. These 10 teams are the only ones that are going to win low ink. That's going to come back to bite me in the butt, I'm sure. However, I'm sticking to it, at least for today. On Monday, September 21st, I'm sticking to it. Nobody out of this top 10 is going to win. Now, like I said last month, if you don't agree with something I have said, prove me wrong. Now, that's such a stupid thing to say, because it's like, yeah, we got to prove Pop Gun wrong. Like, no, nobody cares about that. But if I said something about your team today that you prove wrong over the course of this weekend, I will start off next week's episode with an apology to every team that I got wrong. But for now, I'm done talking. It's been an hour. I can't breathe through my nose, and I'm out of water. So, thank you for watching. If you would like to be a part of the Popcast in any way, feel free to reach out to me on Twitter at Mr_Popgun, Discord at Popgun, hashtag 5882, Twitch at Popgun25, YouTube at 25Popgun. I have stopped saving my VODs of this on Twitch. All of them are going to be exclusively on YouTube, so this one will be coming up later today. We are going to raid Emmy Fails because she is on. Make sure you guys wear a mask and make sure it covers your nose. Please. Do you guys not sneeze? Do you guys not breathe through your nose ever? Why wear your mask below your nose? You look like an idiot if you walk around like this. Just so you know.